And then Rick and I went to different schools for undergrad, and then we reconnected at the University of Denver, where we were
Yeah.
taking
So yeah.
classes
So
at Daniels, and we Daniels Business School, reconnected there, and that's where we started working for Jim Beam part time, and basically got paid to learn about whiskey, and then figured out like, oh, you boil beer to make whiskey? We've been making beer since high school. Let's buy a still and see what we can come up with.
yeah. So is that I had a friend that I had met out in the state of Washington where I did my undergraduate degree. He had gotten transferred out to Colorado to manage, on and off premise for the Beam catalogs. And he was kind of looking at a different model of hiring maybe guys who enjoyed whiskey more than people that are a little better looking to sell whiskey. And so we got trained by Fred No on the Bookers, Bakers, Basil Hayden, the kind of higher end of the portfolio. And that training from Fred No really kind of piqued that interest in that next step of the alchemy of taking grain to alcohol, right? So we had this homebrew background. Then we got trained and fell in love with, whiskey, and in particular rye whiskey. So, when it switched from being a homebrewers to Owen bought the first still in 2010 and started moonshining rye whiskey in the garage, because we fell in love with that complexity of the rye grain and what that imparted into the whiskey. So that's kind of how we made that jump from the home brewing to why we started home distilling. And then the uniqueness to all of our whiskeys, right, is one, all we do is whiskey, and two, all of our whiskeys are aged with Aspen. And so the reason we started using Aspen came that first year in 2010, we got our still that Owen can kind of jump into about.
But essentially, we took a mason jar from the garage and took it up to my wife's family's got a cabin outside of Fairplay, Colorado, which is like south of Breckenridge ski area up there. It's an old cabin with lots of aspen trees around, so that's what the firewood is. So we were shutting down the cabin in the fall for the winter, having a good time, drinking around the fire. Had this mason jar of moonshine rye, threw a chunk of charred aspen from the fire in there, left it up there on a southern-facing windowsill all winter, so hot days, cool nights, got that aspen wood to work. Came back in the spring to open the cabin, had a sip of the mason jar, like, wow, this is really good. We like to say, moral of the story, drink by the fire with friends, right?
Nice.
So that was kind of the impetus of using Aspen, was kind of the Bob Ross happy accident up in Fairplay. And that's kind of led us down this Aspen finishing road.